Today's episode is sponsored by Zeiss Industrial Quality Solutions, precision that drives innovation. Visit them at zeiss.com/metrology.
Aerospace and defense manufacturing.
Machines and automation.
Additive manufacturing.
Smart manufacturing.
The global manufacturing economy.
Welcome to Advanced Manufacturing Now, the podcast for manufacturing professionals, powered by SME. From the design screen to the shop floor to final assembly, we drive the conversation about making manufacturing smarter by connecting people who are passionate about manufacturing.
Hello and welcome to Advanced Manufacturing Now, the podcast for manufacturing professionals. I'm your host, Steve Plum, Editor-in-Chief for SME Media. I'm joined today by Christian Shinners and Joe Zofchuk of Zeiss Industrial Quality Solutions. Christian is the company's academic program specialist, and Joe is the customer development academic program manager. Welcome to the program to both of you. Before we get started, can you tell us a little bit more about Zeiss Industrial Quality Solution, how it fits into the Zeiss group, and even before that, just a brief introduction to each of you and when you joined the company and some of your backgrounds.
Sure, I'll take that one first. I'm Joe Zofchuk. I've been working for Zeiss for close to 35 years now at various roles. So I initially started in applications, training, and customer support, moved on to more of a sales role and sales management, and most recently getting involved with data management and finally with our academic program. So our academic program was established in 2015, and in 2020, I was tapped to take over the reins of this program. We had a very solid foundation laid by our predecessors, and since that time, Christian and I have taken the roles and kind of pushed our program to where it is today, and we're looking forward to continuing that expansion of our program.
Yeah, and kind of, I guess to introduce myself, my name is Christian Shinners. I've been with Zeiss for about 3 years. So after getting my mechanical engineering degree, then I joined with Zeiss, and my title is academic program specialist, but I basically work with a lot of our customers and educational customers that use our systems for educational learning purposes and support them from kind of the applications and sales standpoint.
Great. So Zeiss is very well known throughout the industry, optics and metrology's leader. Can you tell us a little bit more about how your group, Industrial Quality Solutions, fits into the company overall, and just a little bit more background on the company?
Sure, I can start that one off. Zeiss is a very historic company. We've been around for over 170 years. There's always been a philanthropic component to Zeiss. The Zeiss Foundation was established to basically treat the workers to a very fair and equitable work-life experience and to expand the horizons of the scientific community. And so our program kind of dovetails within that original founding kind of foundational principle, in that we are helping to expand the knowledge of metrology and measurement in the manufacturing community. Today, there's quite a gap in the manufacturing skill set, and it is getting a lot of attention right now from places like the Department of Defense and the U.S. government. So the U.S. is finally getting serious about re-onshoring a lot of the manufacturing capabilities that we once had. And it's going to take a lot of effort to undo all of the outsourcing and downsizing that has occurred since really the 70s and pushing manufacturing out of our country. And we're trying to help fill those skills gap and fill the understanding of metrology and how important of a role metrology is to the manufacturing gap.
So in the academic program portion of it, when was that set up?
So we're unique in the U.S. in that we are the only academic program within the Zeiss Foundation. It's just for North America. We handle Canada and the United States. That was founded in 2015. And we had a very slow start with the program getting it initialized and going, but we've got critical mass now. We're involved with a lot of different partners and different institutions that are behind this effort to fill that skills gap and to educate tomorrow's manufacturers in manufacturing technology, machining, advanced manufacturing practices, and of course, a huge component of that is metrology.
So I would say it's a huge issue throughout the industry is the workforce shortage. Hundreds of thousands of jobs already unfilled. The projection is, early next decade that it could rise to 3.8 million with need for jobs, and about half of those going unfilled if something isn't done.
There is a lot of momentum right now in pushing this with the U.S. government and with industry, with the colleges and universities that we deal with the skills competitions that we're involved in. Christian, I'm going to let you talk for a little bit. You are on the front lines with a lot of the events that we are involved in, and maybe you can go into a little bit more detail about how the efforts are kind of coming forth to push this technology.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess one interesting point to kind of add on to that, it's if you take a look at all of the different manufacturing sectors and kind of where they're strongly focused throughout the United States, it really closely resembles, or you can overlay kind of the colleges and schools that we work with and support. It overlays very closely, and so that really shows you that it depends on the states. A lot of these colleges and I guess academic institutions that we work with really are pushed by administration and states and local industry in terms of what curriculum and what topics, I guess, and what areas they need to focus on. So recently, as I work with, I cover the whole United States with this, so I see a lot of diversity among these colleges and academic institutions, and I can definitely see that there are changes. I guess there's a big push towards metrology, and some of these also include our manufacturing competitions that we're involved in. One of which is called Project Manufacturing. Again, it's a DoD funded or based organization that involves academic institutions teaching machining, and allows them to kind of participate in these participate in this competition. So there's multiple events that happen. There are multiple rounds of this competition that happen through the year, but eventually lead into the national competition where 4 of the best colleges or high schools even will face off in a manufacturing competition, and we provide the inspection. So I write the programs for the CMM to inspect their parts, and even there, you really see a lot of excitement towards metrology from these students and from the instructors. But it's definitely a growing and important aspect of machining and manufacturing that was often overlooked on the academic level for a long period of time.
So you mentioned earlier, it's a nationwide program. How many schools are you working with, and what does that entail, and what have been some of the initial success stories?
Well, yeah. So since the program's inception back in 2015, we now work with close to 180 colleges, universities, even high schools in the United States and in Canada. So that's allowed us to also reach an install base in these institutions with our CMMs and other metrology solutions of about 230 systems in there. So it's drastically grown, and we can see that we work with colleges and universities all around the United States. So we have our reach is growing, and I think we're really kind of fulfilling our mission of promoting metrology. And then, at least with our program, we I guess I mentioned earlier that we support these manufacturing competitions and often interact with a lot of different companies such as Haas, Mastercam, Autodesk that all have a driven goal of promoting manufacturing and supporting the next generation of manufacturing workforce. But we've had a lot of success stories, at least with this, and one that I can think of is a student at a college in Alabama that we worked with. Uh, they utilize one of our CMMs in their programs and teach or focus a lot on metrology. And he was applying to companies after school, and I believe the company that he ended up working for was Mercedes. And one of the biggest factors of his resume that got him that job is that he had experience with coordinate metrology and understanding GD&T. So that's really cool to kind of see that in practice. Joe, do you have anything else to add, at least onto that?
I'll just add this, that it's very interesting. We looking at this from a management standpoint and kind of where our installations are for the education program. If you overlay a map of our installations over the manufacturing centers in the U.S. and Canada, it's pretty much overlapping exactly. And I think Christian kind of alluded to this before in his comment, but we try to get involved and we try to push the technology where we know the manufacturing is going on, as do a lot of the like-minded companies that are involved in education of manufacturing technology. And so by partnering with these groups, it makes it much more effective to address the needs of this skill set in the regions where the manufacturing is going on. There's a huge investment going on in the East Coast. Great Lakes area has one, also the Gulf States area. So there's a big push for this in different specific regions, and that's where our focus is as well.
So you mentioned some of the machine equipment partners. A lot of colleges may have equipment in their engineering departments, but some of that tends to be much older equipment. How important is it to have some of the newer systems out there and expose students to that to keep them current on the rapidly evolving technologies in manufacturing?
Yeah, I'll take that question here. It's extremely important. I think you see in industry and that they're all trying to get the latest and greatest Industry 4.0 systems. And there's a lot of buzzwords, obviously, that are thrown around there. But in order to meet the demands of manufacturing today, they need to they have to use systems in their whole manufacturing process that can allow that and provide that. So if a college or a high school or a university is teaching on a system that is maybe 10 years old, it's very likely that the technology has changed drastically and that the students aren't coming out with concepts and aren't being prepared well enough to handle the equipment or kind of the processes in manufacturing today. So I think it's very important to kind of teach on the latest and greatest. Of course, at least for machining, learning on manual mills and lathes to get the foundation, the basics is extremely important. But staying up for colleges and schools teaching students how to become manufacturing professionals or metrologists, they need to use the latest and greatest technology. And I guess for schools can really, to get this into their programs, it really helps with them interacting with companies like us and others out there to understand kind of the trends in industry, especially with their local industry, since there's the different industries that are around that college may vary from state to state or city to city. So it's really important for them to at least be linked in or kind of linked with these industries and companies that are leaders in their area.
I just might add one thing. I think one key component that's really pushing this is the competitions we're involved in. Prior to competitions kind of getting everybody focused on the latest technology, what was going on in education was there are little islands or pockets of technology, and each university was kind of focused on their own area, or maybe a department where when they hired a professor, that was kind of their point of interest. With the competitions that were involved in, the Skills USA competition is a huge competition, for the entire U.S. Not only in machining, but for various other things. If you've never been involved with that, I encourage anybody to go to that. The first time that I went to that, I was blown away by all of the different areas of competition there were. But focusing on the machining, without these types of events and the Project MFG events, you're really pushing schools to work toward a common goal where they're embracing that newer technology and they're having to use it in their programs. So that's driving the advent of technology in programs that might not have gone down that path. And what you're seeing is that the enrollment for these courses will go up in areas where a new investment in technology has occurred. One partner that we work with in Illinois recently unveiled a very elaborate machining program, and it was supported by U.S. government and by state and federal officials. It is just kind of the cutting edge of that region, and those are the kinds of programs that will push the U.S. to look at the technology and incorporate it in their programs. It's expensive, but it's an investment that we need to have in the U.S. in order to bring that manufacturing back to the U.S. We're not going to have people running manual mills a lot. It's going to be, in order for us to bring that at a wage that will support a family, it has to be the higher tech. And by having these competitions and kind of as a focal point for colleges and universities to strive to and to look to, that's a real positive, I think. I guess the message that we are kind of pushing forth is that we have a lot of computerized systems out there, 5-axis systems, 3-axis systems, CAD systems. The CAD models in these days contain toleranced information that are embedded in them. The machining technology that's available is leaps and bounds above where it was a few short years ago. However, at the end of the day, the parts that are manufactured using this technology need to work. And without that metrology component, you really don't know. If you're relying on the CAD model, the CAD designer to be perfect, the machinist to be perfect in executing a part program to manufacture a part, and the machine tool to be perfect, and you don't utilize the metrology component to check those components being manufactured, there is a chance for a disaster to occur. Reliance on technology is good to a certain point. Let's make sure that we double check it, especially when we're pushing the envelope of technology with the components that are being made today and utilized and relied upon. If you skip that quality control loop, if you skip the metrology, the understanding of what GD&T is, as Christian mentioned, it's really not a good route to go down. So we're here to kind of trumpet that to the colleges and universities that we're working with. Sometimes it's new to them to understand that because there's such an emphasis in machine technology, and it's important for them to carry that with them when they go out into the world and get that job.
Yeah, there's been a lot of advances in technology, machine technology in recent years, and even more coming, especially with the onset of Industry 4.0 tools and data analytics and just sharing information across machines, across plants. Does that make it easier to implement metrology solutions, or is it more challenging? What's the effect there in interconnection?
What a great question. Um, the principle of Industry 4.0 absolutely makes things simpler to share that data back and forth. We do need to understand the handshaking and the ins and outs of Industry 4.0 to make certain it's being utilized properly. So, yes, it does make things more simple. That's what technology does. It drives that component. Um, the critical part is execution, and that's where Zeiss is focusing a lot of our efforts in bringing out new technology and developing things to make it simpler to implement these types of initiatives.
Well, talking about what's next and the changes in coming years, technology obviously is going to continue to advance, and we talked about the national and the global level, but it all starts at the local level and getting kids interested and local companies involved. How do you see the industry evolving, and what does Zeiss's strategy to help push the needle forward?
Well, I'll start off on this one, and I'll hand it over to Christian because he's dealing with this in his daily interactions, the events that we're going to. But since the COVID break, and that's kind of where I took over the program, those were some lean years. Everybody was trying to do things virtually. It simply didn't work when it came to the events that we were involved in, and we lost a lot of ground during that time. But since then, in the years after that, our events have gotten bigger and more numerous. When Christian first joined, we were, just basically they were starting to initiate these programs, and some of them were still done in a virtual mode. Again, that doesn't work. And now we are seeing such an uptick in events, in specialized events. One example, Project MFG, they lumped machining and welding into one competition. So typically they would involve both disciplines into the competition. And I'm a father of three swimmers, having swam since grade school all the way through college. And I like to bring this example up because it's very telling. So in a swimming competition, there's always swimming and diving. And we were always involved in swim schools that were strong swimmers, but maybe not so strong divers. And we would compete, and we would maybe lose stuff where we beat everybody in swimming, but because we didn't have a strong diver, we would go down. And so we're seeing that in the competitions that involve welding and in machining, both very important, but very different disciplines. So Project MFG is expanding now. They're breaking into different competitions. So the growth of that tells us that they can stand alone on a welding competition now and just bring in welders for that. And then they can focus more on the discipline of machining. And what that does is it expands the knowledge that's more hyper-focused rather than trying to contain both. So I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good sign. Again, Christian really is involved in a lot of these competitions. Do you have any more comments to add to that? Is there observations going on?
Yeah, so I think it's really important, as you were mentioning, that we're we're out and in front of these customers. So I spent a lot of time on the road, whether that's visiting our academic partners or trying to kind of support the current ones and also build our academic base within these schools, but also supporting these manufacturing competitions. And I I really enjoy going down to these and supporting them. Since I make the programs and run the machine for the inspection, the CMMs for the inspection of those parts, working and seeing the students kind of put two and two together, like when I'm running their parts that they just machined, I can go through the inspection report and kind of really help them make those connections and seeing like, oh, that's maybe how I have to change my machining process, or at least some similar to along those lines. So it's extremely important to be back out there, and I think the being in front of these academic institutions as representing a global leader in our metrology world, they really appreciate that too.
Well, thanks to you both for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to talk to people about workforce development and the importance of programs like Zeiss is working on. You both shared a lot of great information and a critical topic for the future of manufacturing in the U.S. Varies across industries and companies. If listeners want to learn more about Zeiss, where should they go?
Yeah, so you can go. We have a website. If you look up Zeiss Academic Program, we have a landing page that you can go and learn a little bit about our program and how we might work with your manufacturing or engineering program if you're a college. And we also work with other groups that are teaching machining, but we have a website out there, and we often are involved with a lot of these college and local college events. But that's probably the best way is to go visit our website and get in contact with us.
I also encourage anybody to go to the Skills USA competition website. They have a lot of information on different organizations that are involved there as well. So that's always a great resource for everybody.
Great. Thanks again. And to learn more about the latest manufacturing trends and hear more podcasts, visit us at advancedmanufacturing.org. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our podcast feed.